Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast.
Alan, we are talking today about Killed by Death, Season 2, Episode 18 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You are Alan, I am Jarrod. We are Who Watches the Rewatchers, a podcast where we talk about, analyze, think through the episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have to say, you know you're in the Buffyverse when Xander wears plaid pants, right? Like, that's a dead giveaway.
It's a dead giveaway. Sure.
I was really thinking a lot about those pants the entire episode. And another little thing that was interesting aesthetically is that if you notice in the hospital that we're going to talk about, the doctor is doing experiments. Do you know what he's storing those experiments in?
No,
in his
tell me.
office. It's like an old icebox. Not a refrigerator, but an old icebox. You know, the old school refrigerators that...
Sure.
That's what it's like, but it's like in his little office. It's like a little set of samples in there. And I was
awesome.
just, if I looked at things from a really critical point of view, there's just, you could crack up at this whole hospital thing. But I just thought, that's just an old, like, 1950s icebox.
Right.
Really strange. Anyway, so Killed by Death. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing well. I watched this episode early this morning, and I think that I've discerned the strange feelings I had. I think I've figured out the strange feelings I had while watching it. I thought, man, this is a monster of the week, and they happen to tag on some stuff with Angel or Angelus just to keep that going. But otherwise, it's a monster of the week. I read somewhere, and this, I haven't fact-checked it, but I read somewhere that this is actually filmed for season 1. Did you see this?
I did not see this.
That this is at least thematically or visually a leftover from season 1 that they suppose Joss Whedon got a hold of and punched it up with some elements with Xander and Angel.
Right.
That were like later add-ons, which this claims is why those elements of the story stand out, because otherwise it's just, you know, kind of back into season 1 sort of schlock or whatever, you know. I don't know if that's true. I haven't fact-checked it, but that sort of seems right. It reminds me, the whole episode does remind me of those Monster of the Week episodes in season 1 that get away from the big narrative. And, you know, we sometimes praise the shoestring budget and their abilities. Sometimes we criticized it. You know, I mean, I don't know. What is your hot take before we dive into the narrative?
Okay, so my hot take before we dive into the narrative is that I think that this episode is whoever wrote it channeling Spider-Man. All right, so I'm going to tell you what I mean by that.
Okay, comic book man.
Have you ever read any of the original, like the first 3 years of Spider-Man comics from the late 1960s?
I'm going to guess I haven't. When I collected comic books, I went to the comic book shop. I would buy the old used stuff. I'm guessing that what they sold for $1.25 wasn't the original 3 seasons or whatever. So probably not.
Okay, so in the first 3 years of Spider-Man, basically every January-ish, they would do an episode that I lovingly refer to as Spider-Man Has a Cold.
Stan Lee was like, let's give Spider-Man an everyday person's problem.
Yes.
Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he'd be fighting like the Vulture, and he'd be dizzy and not be able to like stand up properly and all that sort of thing. And you know, Buffy is famously based on an X-Men character called Kitty Pryde. And I think that in this episode in specific, they really dug into the whole what would it be like if we did Buffy Has a Cold, you know? And I think that I don't think there's much more to this episode than that. I really think that that's pretty much it, other than them trying to needing a little bit of pad before they get to bigger things that they're going to do with Angelus. And I think that it's really that simple.
Okay. Well, it starts off with her patrolling, right? Like she's out, she's got a little sneezy coffee flu-y thing. And she runs into her Scoobies who are also out patrolling. They are taking up slack because of her sickness. They think Buffy needs to rest. No one's communicated. Um,
Right.
Buffy's out. They assume she's going to be home, and they assume that they also have to be out. And this is where, I mean, immediately, to me, the story is sort of flat because they're like, "Hey, you're sick. You're not at full Slayer strength." And she goes, "Yeah, but
Right.
I'm still the Slayer." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"You three are a bunch of kids." Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right. 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 Right.
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you kids, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
that like it's so dumb that they're out. I mean, like so unwise that they're out looking for Angel basically.
Yeah.
It just seems sort of like filler. And as they're talking about him, he shows up, which provides for a an early fight scene between Buffy and Angel, but also um, the other Scoobies get in on the action. The last time on Buffy
Mm.
called to mind the last episode with Jenny Calendar's death, how Buffy told Giles, "I think I'm finally ready to kill him." Like so,
Right.
it primes you for them to have a showdown.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I noticed that.
Yeah.
But what that caused me to notice was that this is the first episode I have noticed that they didn't do that opening tag that we talked about episodes and episodes ago.
Oh, this is the first one.
I don't know. I don't know that it is. It's the first time I noticed that they didn't do it.
Ah, me, yeah. Okay. That's right. They didn't. And gosh, I keep trying to pay attention. I'm always paying attention to the font. When is that going
Yeah.
to change? And the part of the
Yeah.
song that goes, "Arr," that's the two things I'm
Right.
always looking for. But
Sure.
we're not there yet. So yeah, she has a fight. It's heavy with the martial arts. Xander gets in on the action to save Buffy from near certain death or near death from
Hmm.
Angel. They pull
Yes.
out their crosses,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
I think he's got some schlocky one liner or something and runs off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
Buffy's, yeah,
Cordelia is deeply
mhm,
concerned about how gross Buffy looks.
right. We got to get you because you look so gross.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the one common like running, not one. It's one of the common running themes through the episode is that Cordelia has no tact. Um, I mean, they point it out and they make it very plain.
Yeah.
Um, they get to the hospital, right? She's faint, and they get her to the hospital, and it looks, it looks like there's not a lot going on in the emergency room. A bunch of kids can bring a gal in, and they put her on the gurney right away, and they're just saying, this is where when you see television. You know that there is throwaway sort of medical jargonish stuff that it
Yeah.
hasn't even really been looked into, right? It's
Right.
just saying things they probably heard before because it's not very serious about the medical establishment in this room.
Right.
It's
Right.
just
Right.
trying to
Right.
get her to the room, and in all of it, right? The Scoobies have to call on Giles. One person says they call Giles. The other one is supposed to go call Joyce, Buffy's mother,
Right.
and that's when we get the adults in the scene.
Hmm.
I thought as soon as they did this, I thought, how are they going to answer again for Joyce? Why the librarian is called to the scene? Like that is something that they've touched on a few times. Like, boy, this school, humorously,
Yeah.
boy, this school's really loves their students. I mean, a
Yeah.
librarian's
Right.
giving this,
They
right?
really care.
Right, they really care. So I was really wondering how they were going to play that up, and they really didn't. Except for when Joyce sees Giles, she goes, "It's just great that you guys all love her so much." And this sort of speaks to him as though he were a part of the friend group.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so then
and they're almost dismissive of it. Like you're exactly right. I noticed that too. That I was waiting to see how they were going to do it, and they definitely didn't say anything. It's almost like at this point, Joyce just accepts that he's part of Buffy's circle, like you were just describing. Yeah, totally agree.
yeah. And then there's the exposition that provides some background for Buffy's deeper narrative and history that she had a cousin when she was 8 named Celia. Buffy had a cousin named Celia who she loved who died in the hospital, which is why Buffy doesn't want to be in the hospital. And though she's has flu symptoms, she's got fever, she's sort of hallucinogenic, she's speaking about vampires in front of her mom, which provides a little comic relief.
Yeah,
Um, Giles is like, yes, sure, we'll get those vampires. Better to play along, the whole bit. But this is why that's the reason given by Joyce to her friends about why she is so terrified about being put um, under sedation, admitted to a hospital, taken to a room. And all of it sets up the opportunity for her to have a dream,
Right.
right? In the hospital. What's that dream of, right? While dreaming, she sees a boy, I think. Brian is his name.
Yes. So she walks down the hospital hallway. It's very Friday the what's that? What's that? It's not Friday the
Friday the
13th. It's
well, that's what
the it's not that one. It's the
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. It's
Nightmare.
very Nightmare on Elm Street. Thank you.
Yeah.
Which by the way, Whedon references a few times through the course of this series, so I think that had a big impact on him. Visually, what they're doing with it is they're making sure that it looks all blown out so that you're clear that it's a dream. And basically, she's clearly approaching someone's bedside that is in bad shape when she wakes up.
Yeah. Excuse me. When she's walking down the hall, is there a moment when we know we're in a child's ward, right? Like, don't they have a sign maybe somewhere that says
Yeah,
children's ward,
yeah,
which
they sure do. And also one
stuck
of the things
out.
that they made a big deal about that struck me as weird is and I guess this would be really, really meaningful to a kid looking at a hospital scene like this, is they had like a collection of surgical tools. And so there were knives and scalpels and whatever. And it was this huge tray, like it looked like way too much for any random surgery. It looked like the entire collection of surgical tools, and they pass over to make a big deal about it. So yeah, I think it's just there to really help us feel how ominous the whole thing feels to Buffy.
Right. So while she's there at the children's ward, which is, I think that they're just trying to set off aesthetically and visually for us that this is where the kids are.
Yeah.
It all the language, the way it's set up makes it feel very, very dated in the mid 20th century. Anyway, while she's at a door in the children's ward, there's an argument between one Dr. Backer and a Dr.
Yes.
Wilkinson.
Right.
And they're arguing about basically Backer is been doing things, experimenting, treatments that are sort of out there on these kids that are in this hospital.
Right.
And at that same time, she meets this boy, Ryan, and ominously tells her that death comes at night, which is
Right.
a pretty awesome sort of line, to say, in a
Sure.
a movie, right? So now that's the setup of the red herring for the show, because for the first at least I think 2 acts, we think this Dr. Backer is death, right? Is
Right.
in some way he's doing something to the kids.
Yeah,
You
mad
do think
scientist kind of
there's
trope.
Yeah, and you also think there's something, it's set up that that's what you're supposed to think, but you also know that something more because there's maybe a creature following Buffy. There's something looming back there,
Right.
and yeah, and so now she's going to be investigating from inside the crazy world of the hospital
Yeah.
with the
Right.
flus and the hypnotic dreams, while the Scoobies are going to investigate outside, which I think is an interesting. I think that's interesting. It would be more interesting if they could explore that. That she is like inside whatever world or simulation or labyrinth or whatever you can imagine, where she's in the problem and they are outside the problem.
Mhm.
And like, that's an interesting relationship to me, that you could explore. I'm trying to think of a metaphor for that or what that could represent, but the idea that she's in some way that's always what's happening. She's always the one on the ground putting into practice what they research in a library, and they get sucked into it as well.
Yes.
But that's like sort of a strange or interesting metaphor that could speak about many different sorts of relationships in our life. But yeah,
Mm.
I just think it's interesting to send her in, as it were.
Yes.
Makes me think about other sci-fi horror where people have been sent into someone's mind, right?
Mhm.
Or being sent into another world or planet, right?
Sure. 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 Inner
Anyway,
space. No, 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 not inner space. What's the one? Dreamscape.
inter
Dreamscape
yeah,
is the one that came to
yeah,
mind.
something. Yeah, yeah. So that's happening. Okay, so I think we cut to the next morning, maybe.
We do. Well, actually, I think before we cut to the next morning, um, Angel comes by to visit.
Oh, he comes by the hospital. That's right.
Yes.
He comes by the.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
guess.
so Xander Xander basically says, you can't go in there, and Angel says something like, "You can't stop me," and and then Angel needs to poke at Xander and says, "You still love her, don't you? It must kill you that I got to her first." And you have that bit of tension.
Oh yeah. So I think the suggestion of what I read was or the suggestion they were making was like that stuff was all added to otherwise season one footage. Um,
Sure, sure, and
but
I
yeah,
think that's possible.
they have not let the Xander love for Buffy go yet, have they? I mean, even though he's with
Mhm.
Cordelia, they keep bringing it back awkwardly in the last episode, and so it's still present. Um,
I think it's going to be
he,
present about until a few episodes into season three. I think season three is when they let that whole thing go. But I think they need it for one of the things that's going to happen in the final episode of the season, which is the whole, you know, uh, Xander's great shame, what he tells Buffy to do when she's going to fight Angel.
well, I really do enjoy the banter between Cordelia and Xander, where he's like, she's like, well, you always want to help Buffy. He's, well, I got her back. Yeah, her back. You're always looking at it. He's, what's that mean? Means she's like, I see you staring at her butt. And then she's like, I'll be right back or whatever. And she walks away and he stares at her butt. It was pretty comedic. I enjoyed that part. They just called it out, put it out there. All right, the next morning, Buffy is being visited by everybody. Isn't this the moment where all of them show up with gifts for her, like treats and things? And Cordelia is like, I didn't know we're supposed to bring gifts. And Giles like, yeah, it's sort of customary, right?
That's hilarious.
She's supposed to be so socially unaware. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that that's definitely a gag they have going with her, and I think that's a gag that they transmit to Anya when she joins the cast later on.
right now, let's go back to that first scene where Angel's going to attack Buffy. He ends up
Yeah.
tackling Cordelia.
Mhm.
And I thought about that. Just speaking of Cordelia, made me think about this.
Sure,
I
sure,
thought
sure, sure.
about like why her of all the people. He lunged after Cordelia, and I didn't know if maybe even back then they knew some way that they were going to do Angel would bring Cordelia into the mix, or if that would just
Sure.
she just happened to be a bystander. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's a reasonable supposition. I think the other thing that might be going on there is uh okay, I heard a what do you call it? A director commentary uh over an episode of Angel when Whedon was talking about some of the things that he thinks about when he's writing characters. And one of the things he talked about is this notion that the bad guys are always going to go after sort of the weak link in the crowd of quote unquote good guys. And specifically, if he feels that a character has matured to the point where it's difficult for them to be in danger, or the audience won't read them as being in danger, then it's a bad one for the bad guy to attack. So I think that he really put Angel on Cordelia because Cordelia is the one member of the Scooby Gang that I don't think I think the audience would genuinely believe was in danger of being killed in that moment.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, Buffy tells everyone, she's in the hospital. While she's there, she's going to investigate. There's something going on here. She tells everyone in
Sure.
this moment they're visiting, hey, there's a big bad happening here. Um, she says that doctor gives her the Wiggins, which
Mhm.
Giles later humorously says, I have to trust Buffy, especially, her Wiggins or something like that.
Yeah, right, right, right.
Um, Xander's the one who volunteers everyone to help. Like he's the loudmouth. He's the Saint Peter in this episode for sure. And for those of you who are not aware of Saint Peter in the Bible, but he's the one who's always like speaking out and putting his foot in his mouth. But he stands in as sort of the I think Saint Peter stands in as the voice of everyone who's reading along, like he's the
Yes.
us.
Right.
And so I think Xander's sort of the us, and I've often said he's the heartbeat of the Scooby Gang. So there he is. We're all gonna mount up and help, which then sets up some more sort of comedic hijinks. Xander and Cordelia, they're gonna go find some records.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
You
That's
know,
funny.
shut behind a shut door, dark room, no one's
Hmm.
there, right?
There.
And remember Cordelia's experience with the security guard?
Yeah. Yeah. He grabs her and then but before we find out what he's going to do, because they do one of those like cut things, right? So that we think that she's going to be in real trouble. We go back to the library for just a minute to see a beat between Giles and Willow about how he feels about Ginny and the fact that he's still upset about obviously still upset about Angel and and then we get a little bit this is the moment where I think they try as hard as they can with this episode to to talk to like the themes and the ideas that they're trying to discuss for the episode. Um but then of course we cut back to Cordelia, who's clearly hitting on the security guard, in order to make him feel
Yeah,
like
right. Very. She's putting on a show for
yeah,
him too. And Xander is getting jealous, and then what follows between
yeah, yeah,
Xander's
yeah,
like flirting much is the whole conversation about the
yeah, yeah,
backsides, the bottoms.
yeah.
But go back to the library between
Sure.
Giles and Willow and talk about that. What is the theme of the show then that they're trying their best to describe?
Well, I think they're trying to say something here. And by the way, of all the episodes we've talked thematically, this might be the weakest one, in my opinion. Um, I think they're trying to say something very general about how children view the hospital. I think to your point about it being a callback to season one, it really reminded me of the what was the episode with the little boy that was in the hospital.
Right.
Um,
I don't remember.
lucky number seven, lucky number nine, whatever it was.
Yeah, and that was the other Nightmare on Elm Street vibe. I mean, big
Yeah,
time.
yeah, 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 very much.
The Ugly
And so
Man.
yeah, and so I think they're really just talking about this idea that in the hospital, everything seems monstrous to a little kid. And by the way, I will mention that there was a second dream sequence with Buffy after the angel scene where we see her like pretend to save her cousin. She was dressed up in like a little superhero costume or whatever, and and so we get a little bit of insight into this idea that Buffy has always kind of wanted to be that kind of figure. It was always part of her psyche, and I think that all that stuff is sort of mixed together in some sort of very disorganized way for this episode.
Well, in the library there, Giles and Willow, when they're trying to squeeze out those themes that you were referencing, they're just throwing whatever spooky, uncanny thing will stick against the wall, like in season one. A lot of the Monster of the Week episodes are in that realm of something strange and bizarre, parapsychology, cryptozoology. Um, the adjective follows a person, Fortean, right? The Fortean kind of stuff. And you hear that when Giles says, well, oftentimes children see the real adult, what's behind the mask that we produce. That's another red herring because we're talking about this doctor. Meanwhile, the viewer, we have dramatic irony. We haven't mentioned it. We've already seen the villain as this creepy character with a bowler or a round hat with teeth. The very first glimpse of this character is pretty effective because the way he walks into the frame, he's sort of got a 3/4 look toward the camera, scary eyes, the teeth. Um, I'm more face on when the camera is on his face for too long, it loses that feel. And then later when you see the affect of how he takes his victims, it's even less. It's more season 1 graphic. But in the library, they're still doing that. Still surmising what a child's life is like and what a child sees and who we really are. And there's, adults could be villainous and bad and scary. Children are pure and all that. Yeah, all that happens there. And so, yeah, a lot happens. And back at the hospital, and not where Xander and Cordelia are, but back at the hospital where Buffy is, she is visiting with Ryan. She's able to kind of go into the children's ward. She's not wearing any hospital clothes that I've recognized from my stints in the hospital. Her hair is perfectly done. She looks like she's in a dream, right? And she's there visiting with Ryan. The little boy's drawing a picture of the very monster that she has seen. And of course, that's a sign, that's a symbol to her. That's some proof. And then we cut back to the library where the research between Giles and Willow's taking place. And Willow finds on the computer that Dr. Backer's got this, like a history, like a rap sheet, but of controversial experiments and stuff that's gone wrong, which is like very fascinating that this would be just available in the public record. And it's very fascinating that the list is this long and he still has his medical license. But it is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so.
Okay. I have 3 things I got to say right now. Number 1, when I lived in Providence, my wife and I rented a house from a dentist who shall remain nameless for the purpose of this conversation, who had a rap sheet that long that we were able to look up on the internet.
Really?
Now he wasn't killing people, but he had
Right.
like a large number of suits against him for performing procedures that didn't need to be performed. So I'm willing to give that one a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. The second thing that I need to say quickly is I haven't said this at all, and I keep meaning to, and so I'm just going to interrupt you right now and say it. Um, all of these hospital scenes are done in the same set where all the high school scenes go.
Okay, interesting.
And so I think that they did a pretty good job redressing it to make it to make you understand that it's a hospital. There are definitely things about it that read totally false, but the fact that it was a high school a minute ago and now it's a hospital, I thought they did an okay job with that. The last thing I want to say is that going back to the security guard with Cordelia, the actor, I don't remember his name, who plays the security guard, has been in 2 other things that people in geek culture would know pretty well. The first one is have you ever watched Stargate?
Nope, but I know of it.
Okay. So he plays a recurring character on Stargate, um, who's like an alien who uh, is telling everyone in the Stargate program that he's an alien, but they don't believe him because he's so nerdy and weird. Um,
Yeah.
and it's very funny, and then eventually he forgets that he's an alien, and he creates a television show called Wormhole X Dream, and and it's basically the Stargate show, except a cheesy version a cheesier version for television. And then they have to go say, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And he's like, he doesn't remember them, so it's very funny. So he's on Stargate. The other thing is that he was like a central cast member of a show, a long running show on USA Network called White Collar.
Okay. See, I thought I knew him from somewhere, but I haven't watched really any of those two. He looks like the man who voices Homer Simpson. Looks like his little brother or something.
Could be. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to throw much shade on the hospital set. I agree with you. That's pretty incredible. I mostly just throw shade on how they treat the hospital.
Yeah, sure.
Or I don't throw shade. It's just kind of like, it's just strange. It's just uncanny. It makes you feel, it just makes me feel out of place and out of time
Yeah.
when I watch it. And maybe that's part of it, but yeah, okay. Yeah, so the red herring is continuing that Dr.
Hmm.
Backer's the bad guy from this rap sheet,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep, yep.
And also the security guard is also added to it by telling Cordelia that Dr. Backer knows the truth or the secret or whatever. She's like, what's that? And he's like, that sometimes kids die, which is completely
Ooh.
like terrible. And it's so ominous, and it's meant to be.
Yeah.
But, and you think at that moment, well, geez, he's doing something right.
Yes.
But Dr. Backer is seen in his little office with that little icebox. He's doing experiments. It's all rather, I mean, I thought another thing about this episode is all the science is rather non-scientific.
Yes.
Whether Buffy's going to take something to hallucinate in a moment, she's going to like take it all, and Willow's like, that'll kill you. And so she just dilutes it in a bunch of water, and she's like, well, I want more,
Yeah.
so she was more than one drop. Like it's kind of haphazard. So is the doctor. And now he's going to take this syringe of whatever he's done. He's going to go try to cure this little boy, Ryan, or do an experiment. You don't know yet if he's a good or baddie until that doctor is attacked from behind by our villain. And
Yes.
Ryan watches him not only be like shredded, he's like shredded. There's like blood splatter on the wall. And then he's drugged down the hallway and like with the monsters invisible. And I thought that part was pretty good, pretty well done, actually. Pretty scary.
Very, also extremely Nightmare on Elm Street.
Very much so.
And yeah,
I mean, down to the slashes, Alan. Down to the slashes. Because
totally agree.
Right.
And then there's a moment where Buffy tries to help him, and she gets knocked away by this invisible force.
Right. She's got a flu. Don't forget. She's not a full.
He's not a full Slayer.
But if Xander and Willow were there, maybe they could have done it. So. No, just if Xander was there.
I think Xander was down the hallway eating donuts while this was happening, wasn't he?
He was probably mansplaining something to somebody. He was arguing with a New Jersey Angelus. Anywho, in the morning, Buffy tells everyone the news. Dr. Backer, who they think's the bad guy, is really not the bad guy. Ryan is drawing creepy pictures, kid-like pictures of the bad guy. No police presence, but let's just put the suspension of disbelief into play here. Later, I mean, there's a humorous scene where they're splitting up again, and Xander's going to stay there. I can't remember where Willow's going, but Giles has to go do research with Cordelia. he's like, do I have to? And then she's like, do you know any tact? It was pretty funny, the reversal of him accusing her of no tact. So they go back and they do the research. Of course, the whole point is that Cordelia is dumb. She's not a serious person, and she's not very good at help. But while they're doing research, it gets they take that line of thinking further, right? She's like, what kind of monster is this? And what does this monster do? And what does that monster do? Sort of like a child does. And Giles gets very frustrated and says, that monster asks questions so that we can't find our research, whatever. And she goes, wow, there's a demon for everything. And then they closing the book in exhaustion, exasperated and all that. The image on the cover of the book is of the image. It's of the monster, and they know it from Ryan's drawing, right? And that gives Cordelia, she gets the points on the board for finding out the monster and then also communicating with Buffy about the monster.
Right, which is funny in and of itself.
That's right. The monster's called like what? Kindestod. Kindestod.
Dare Kindestod. I don't speak any other languages, so I'm sure I'm butchering everything.
Yeah, so Kindle, like kindergarten, Kindle, it's always kid, right? And Stod, something like a child's death, right? They just, German does a lot of like smashing of words together. Like even my favorite word in theology that I learned about, like, so Zeitgeist, ghost, Zeitgeist means spirit of the age, right? But my favorite is like this word that whenever I try to do a German word, it's always really wrong and mangled, but it's a Anknüpfungspunkt, which means I think the literal translation is like point of the buttonhole. And that word is a fancy long German word to mean like point of like contact. So like if what are like the points of contact between the divine and the human, like the Anknüpfungspunkt, like points of revelation. So it's a big word, like but like the German's pretty good about like running these words together to make bigger concepts. It's
Right.
pretty interesting. It
That is
doesn't sound
interesting.
pretty to my it doesn't sound
No,
pretty to my ear, but there you are.
sure, 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 sure. There are
Uh,
lots of jokes about that. Okay, now we get back to Buffy's next prophetic dream, or maybe memory dream. She she's having a dream about her cousin again. She's seen her cousin like being
mm-hmm.
attacked or whatever, but there's an invisible force doing it. And I think Buffy's like putting all the connecting all the
Pieces.
dots. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like, when a kid is like seizuring and, having some sort of like psychotic break, maybe,
Hmm.
the answer of the show is that, perhaps it's just the demon that you can't see because you're an adult.
Right.
Which, by the way, is a terrifying idea. Like the idea that there are some of us who can see a world that the others can't see, but that world is there nonetheless, is a terrifying idea. And I hear it constantly. I just heard the story the other day. Someone was telling me that when their kid was, my sister's Japanese exchange student. We took her out to dinner, and she's telling me that when she was a kid, her mom said she saw ghosts. As a kid, she pointed to the corner of the room and would talk about this person being there. And my wife brought up how my daughter did that. In the corner,
Hmm.
she said, the angel saw me. And then Colleen's like, there's a man in your room? Yeah, yeah. He wears daddy's clothes, like daddy's clothes. It totally. And then later, she told my wife the spaceship mans were coming into her room. The spaceship mans. So,
Mm.
like creepy alien stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah, right.
but kids often talk like that. Um, all
You
right.
know,
There.
my daughter never did, so I missed this whole thing. That's pretty
Never?
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here, our theory about the angel of daddy clothes thing, we have no idea. Like, we assume that what she means is like I wear dress clothes to work, right? I have no
Right.
idea. Um, But the spaceship man's our theory is that her room was next to well, it was right across the hall from our room, and right next to it was where Colleen would pump when she was trying to breastfeed our second kid and everything, and she
Sure.
get up in the night pump, and she watched this little TV in there, and she would always have History Channel always had Ancient Aliens on, so like there's this theory in our house that
Yeah,
somehow
right.
by osmosis woke our like 2 3 year old kid.
Sure, sure, sure,
Uh,
sure. That's good. That's good. I like it.
Anyway, yeah, Buffy's helpless in this, and and that gives her the even more emotional, um, uh, I guess impetus. Like
Yeah.
now she's even more angry than she was before. Um, I guess Buffy and Willow go exploring to Doctor Backer's office, right? Is
Right,
the way
right.
to
And
begin, sort of thing.
this is where the thing happens that you were talking about a moment ago with the unscientificness of it. Like, well, what's going on is that they've decided that for Buffy to be able to see the monster, she has to be sick again, and so they're going to because she's well, but they got to make her sick so that she can see the monster that's attacking the kids, and so that's when they come up with this very unscientific. We're gonna put a couple drops of this in you, and blah blah blah. Um, and I, it's the drama of her battling this final monster, or this monster having the final battle with him, where she is weak. I thought they did a pretty good job choreographing it, because she's doing all the same moves she does normally, but she's kind of fallen over and she's a little loosey goosey with it the whole time, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun and very Spider-Man like. By the way, go on.
Well, I also like I want to say I also like when Xander somehow shows up on the scene to see her fighting the bad guy. He can't see it, so she's just doing fight like shadow boxing moves,
Right.
which is sort of humorous. Now, what's the implication though? That an adult with a virus is more childlike. That a weakened immune state puts you into a more childlike sense of being. Are children just sick adults? I mean, I don't think there is an implication. It's just that that's the way for her to get there, but it's sort of weird.
It is weird.
Um,
It is weird. And yeah, and to your point, like and I guess what I'm trying to say with this whole thing is, the metaphor, the thematic movement for this one is all really, really, really disorganized. But The one thing that I think that they stuck to, which is a very Buffy thing, is we need to try to address the idea that the Buffy is dealing with normal high school problems, and the normal high school problem in this case is that she's got a cold, right?
That's a stretch to get to this, but all right. Yeah, and and the villain, don't even know the name, the Kindestod. When he gets the victim, he holds their head. He's on top of them, and then his eyes come out in some weird sort of like computer graphic thing, and
Mhm.
it does something to them. And it's happening to Buffy, and at that moment she just reaches up and snaps his neck.
Yeah,
And then he's gone.
and then he's gone.
And yeah, so then like, I think it's like the end scene, right? um it's a humorous end scene where
Yes.
Buffy is sick at home. Her mom brings her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the crust cut off and 2 parts orange juice, 1 part grapefruit. And then you see Xander's laying on her bed next to her with chips on his
Mhm.
chest. And then Willow's next to him, and they all have snacks. And then Buffy's like, "But I wanted crunchy peanut butter." And so she's being waited on hand and foot, and then the other two are just completely oblivious. Xander's like, "Yeah, more chips," and Willow wants a refill, and all's right with the world. They're just being teens, being kids, being unaware.
Right.
And then a letter comes for Buffy, and it's from that little boy Ryan, and there's a picture of a bloodied, beaten up monster on the ground and Buffy standing over it. It's
Right.
completely alarming, but it's supposed to be cute and
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. He drew you a
Uh
picture. How nice.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's an idea in here that's worth talking about, it's not because of the show, but the idea that to me is that it could be an interesting one to talk about would be, um, is it the case that that children have an ability to perceive the world more correctly than adults because
Right.
children see the world more freshly,
Sure.
and adults see it through a lot of interpretive lenses that have been put upon us, including
Right.
cynicism
Sure.
or whatever. I mean that would be an interesting conversation to have. But yeah, it's just ends up being a monster of the week with probably the weakest sort of metaphor to date. And to the point, to the criticisms that we've been making, Vox, here on Wikipedia, Vox, it says Vox ranked it 134 out of 144. So not not much lower you could go.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's here where I read, okay, there's a lot of season 2 episodes that feel like leftovers from season 1.
I
Okay.
see.
But Killed by Death actually is a season 1. Oh, actually is a season 1 leftover. Okay, this is what it says. It was written for a goofy, campy point in the series run, and then lightly revised for the darker second half of season 2 through the addition, most likely by Whedon, of a few scenes of Xander and Angel facing off at the hospital where a feverish Buffy is recovering. That's
Right.
probably why those scenes feel exponentially stronger than the rest of the episode. But the rest of the episode still perfectly fun TV. Plus, Der Kinderstad and his extendable eyeballs stalks are genuinely creepy. Now that citation is from Constance Grady in honor of both these. Yeah, that's from Vox. Yeah, it's completely taken from Vox. So
Nice.
there
No,
you are.
I like it. I'm gonna make a couple of suppositions. I don't have any idea if what I'm about to say is true or not, but if I were a producer on the show, these are the things that I probably would have been thinking about. The first one is, um, for these last handful of episodes of the season, they probably organized them from the perspective of here are all the kinds of sets we need because they have certain scenes that are in the last couple in the coming episodes. We have certain scenes that where they're going to use that set we just looked at that's a hospital. They have certain episodes where it's got to be a high school and some scenes where it needs to be a hospital. There are hospital scenes coming up. My suggestion is they probably shot all the hospital scenes for the coming episodes while they had this setup and then thought, hey, what hospital script do we have? that we can also use in order to make use of the scene setup.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
and so I think that that also may account for this one being a little bit weaker. They needed some filler material to get them through to the stronger material. Um, the other thing that I think may be going on here is just straight up again that premise for Buffy is how is she dealing with normal problems. And I'm gonna throw this at you that I really do think that they said, okay, well, Spider-Man with a cold, Buffy with a cold, what would that mean for the Slayer? And you know I think that that's really all the meat that there is to this one.
Okay, well, they can't all be bangers. So,
Yeah. Well, the next one is a banger, so I'm looking forward to it.
wait, I'm never looking that far ahead like you. So let me see which one this one is. It's called Oh, yeah, I Only Have Eyes for You. Great
It's
song.
in my opinion, it's the best ghost story they tell in the Buffy series.
All right, look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, until then,
Yeah, man.
my keep on slaying.